What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Joined with my co-host SW again for what is this, episode 4 or 5 at
Yeah,
this
we
point?
made it to episode 4.
Nice, nice. Episode 4. Hell yeah.
Gonna be a
Um,
little more lighthearted today.
yeah. I think this will be a little bit more of a lighthearted episode. Gonna go over a couple Carmelo updates. I just got back from what I was told was going to be the race war and was going to be Charlottesville 2.0. Clearly, I made it back, so it's clearly not that. It was interesting though. There were probably one or two interesting parts in some video that we'll take a look at from the rally. It was actually pretty uneventful.
How many
Um,
people would you say were there total? Because it looked really sparse
it
from
was
the
small.
video.
So me and some friends got there around 12:15. The rally started at 11. We got there at around 12:15, and we were told that it was a little bit bigger. Before we had gotten there, actually, a woman got arrested, apparently, a leftist woman got arrested before we got there. She brought a knife, uh,
Gee.
kind of in jest to
Oh,
yeah, exactly. She brought a knife to it as kind of like mocking Austin, basically. And she threatened someone with it. So she got arrested. Um, and one MAGA pro Austin Metcalf guy got pepper sprayed, apparently. Um, aside from that, there wasn't too much interesting. I would probably say somewhere between 40 and 50 people. Like, really, I would pretty much call it a dud, very anticlimactic. So.
was there
Um,
any arguing like between the sides?
yeah, there was arguing, but
Okay.
it wasn't productive. What I would say, and we'll see this in the video we're about to look at, but it was basically people just arguing about the nature of black crime. And the
Not
leftists were
even the issue itself.
not really, not really. I mean, it kind of advanced beyond that because you had people on the pro Metcalf side that were saying, the they were saying the reality of the nature of crime, that it's functionally there are no white people that are out there attacking blacks, and that really when you're talking about crime, the issues you're talking about black on white violence. And you had leftists there filming and doing their like, oh, say that for the camera kind of thing. Like it's
You
like
know what's really
I'm already face
interesting?
docs, so I don't really care. What's that?
And I kind of had the light bulb kind of went off about that. It seems like white liberals are very quiet on this issue, and
Yeah,
that it's really just kind of black Twitter versus right Twitter. Like I haven't seen the Will Stancils or anybody in that crowd talking about this at all.
yeah,
I think it would be interesting. I might have to do this later, is go to the main suspects and kind of type in Metcalf and see if they've even said a word about it. Because it
yeah.
really
I would be
does seem
curious
like
about that.
the usual suspects who, if it were reversed, would be whining nonstop about it. I haven't heard a word out of them from, that contingent that's usually pretty vocal.
Yeah, exactly. I was listening to a little bit of Scott Greer before this, and not the biggest fan of his, but he did have a good point. He said that all the support for Carmelo, this is a little bit rare compared to the George Floyd case. Um, all the support for Carmelo is coming from black people. Like, there's really
Yep.
not the self-hating white liberal thing. I mean, there's a little bit of that, like with the Tim Pool thing, but he's kind of
But
his
it's
own.
not the ones like you saw with Floyd and every other one that
Exactly.
they're almost sitting it out because I don't know, I don't want to give them too much credit, but maybe they're just like, yeah, this is pretty obvious. It's funny, like, because I would say maybe they have some shame in supporting this, but then you look that they're actively cheering on bringing MS-13 guys back to the country. So it's hard to
Yeah,
say there that shame all of a sudden kicks in this issue.
exactly. Yeah, it's interesting. I've noticed that too. There's not really the self-hating white liberal thing as much in this case. It's a lot
Well, because what
more.
are they going to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's kind of a hint that even white liberals are kind of like, there's something off about this one. There's something that's not really defensible here.
Well, because one of the things that I kind of talked about a few days ago was how it's like when Carmelo's parents were like, I can't believe the school's expelling him. It's like that's a given. Whether or not he gets charged or whatnot, that's whatever. That's in the courts. That's there's a whole lot of things that can happen, but like it's been made clear for a long time, for better or worse, there's no such thing as self-defense in school, and that's regarding fistfights.
Right.
Now you add actually
A
bringing a
weapon.
weapon
Right.
and using it. That it See, to me, that's where the issue ends right there.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to just go at a very basic legal level, it was in the school's policy and the like the policy of the stadium or whatever that they were at, that there were no weapons allowed. So just from a very basic level, like there was no justification to have those weapons there. You know what I
And I
mean?
just I just remembered just talking with teachers when I was when we were stupid teenagers, be like, "Well, what about self-defense?" And they'd be like, "There is no self-defense in school. The closest you'll get to self-defense in school is maybe the principal makes a judgment call, and the person who started it gets a fatter punishment than the person who engaged. But that's it. It does. There's no like legal rules of self-defense within a school. It's
Yeah,
zero tolerance
exactly.
violence whatsoever, zero tolerance weapons whatsoever.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we got into at the rally, and we can probably start just covering it at this point, um, was during the arguing part where kind of had both sides at each other's throats arguing about the nature of crime. They were what were they talking about? They were saying that it was what you just said that well, why wouldn't he bring a knife to the thing? You guys are pro self-defense, but you're against him bringing a knife to the track meet. And it's like, yeah, we're self-defense in the sense of that, that I'm pro self-defense for George Zimmerman or Kyle Rittenhouse, where
It
your life is
almost
truly being
feels
threatened.
like arguing it with these people is making me feel stupider. To
Yeah,
have to like to
yeah.
have to go to these semantics it reminds me of I was in a community college sociology class. Somebody
I've
brought
been
up that
community
most
college
crime,
sociology. I've been there.
and this was an 80% black campus.
Yeah, yeah, same. Yeah.
So this girl is, or somebody brought up the whole most gun crime is committed with guns that were obtained illegally. And this black girl goes, well, I don't remember her specific words, but she basically described a straw sale. And was like, that's technically a legal gun. And it was like, you can't even argue with somebody like that.
Right.
Just the basic framework of what they're thinking is so wrong and stupid that having to even entertain that as a legitimate framework of an argument makes you feel dumber.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There was a point in the argument where we were talking about oh yeah, we were just talking about how the cities are unlivable at this point. Um, and Jake Lang, who I'm still not sure about, but he was the organizer of the rally today. He was telling the counter protester side that the problem with the cities is not just crime. They love to do like these blanket statements like there's a lot of crime in the cities. It's like, but no, it's black crime. And this dumb girl who was filming us, she had a mask on. She just had her camera in the face of whoever was speaking at the time against Carmelo basically and was laughing and she had that kind of
Was she white?
no, she was a black girl.
Okay.
And she was doing that kind of mocking laughter thing when somebody on the right is making a point. She's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, with her
Oh
phone in your
God.
face. And I was like, at one point, I was like, what are you laughing about? Like, yeah, I understand the camera's in my face, but I'm already doxxed. Like I've already face doxxed. It's not a problem. I'm asking you like, do you have any refutation to what we just said? Like, and there's none. There's literally none. These people they're not operating on like an intellectual level. I know that's not groundbreaking, but it was crazy to see in real time.
It's just, I mean, there really is no return from them or no, they're not going to tell you anything legitimate. They're just, they're either going to attack you personally or ed, or just kind of keep hammering on completely unnecessary points, or they'll think they're mind gaming you and being smart, but then they're just saying nothing. It's just dribble.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I saw in real time today. Um, if you want to jump into this, so we can start. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it.
Cool. So this was kind of the only fireworks moment that I was there for. So you have this black guy who was there at the event.
Can I have a conversation with you?
So there's this black guy at the event, the black guy with the cowboy hat. This guy. And I don't really know what his role is. He wasn't quite a counter protester, but his whole talking point, his spiel was um that us being there, invoking Austin's name in order to talk about the nature of black crime was a disservice to Austin and his family. And Jake Lang, who again I'm not sure about, who was the organizer of the protest, who you'll see here in a second, was arguing with him about that very thing. So if you want to, we can check out this video and just let me know if you want to pause it at any points.
Sounds good.
But yeah, so this was probably the biggest part of it, and eventually at one point we'll see it here in a sec. This guy, his name is Bruce Carter. I found out. He gets Austin Metcalf's dad on the phone.
Do you know
And
any background on him at all?
I don't. So he talked about himself a little bit. I wasn't able to verify it like in real time, but he is a Republican. He
I
said he
wonder if
does.
he's like a local lawyer or something like that.
Yeah, he seems like a black right wing community activist, basically.
Okay.
So he talked about how he's done work before within the black community to, lower crime and stuff like that. It all sounds good, but at the same time, you're here telling people that they shouldn't make this a race issue when it's really the black people who are making this a race issue and white
Which it's
people are just
funny because it's
responding
like,
to
would
that.
he say that to Carmelo's parents who
Right. And that's
have
what you were saying.
basically
That's what you were
been
saying
saying
before
we're
this
the
call.
victim?
That's what you were saying right before this call, and it's a great point. Somebody like this would never tell Carmelo's family that they need to, not invoke the name of black civil rights icons when talking about this. This is only directed at white people. So yeah, this is how that exchange went.
With your son. Can I have a conversation with you?
No, because you could have called him before that. You could have called him.
I've been
respect.
reaching out. I'm one of the biggest figures in America.
Jeff,
Nobody's ever
I've given you a message. I've given you your message.
I
Here's the
all
response.
family members, everybody I could find.
When he says Jeff, he's talking to Austin Metcalf's dad on the phone.
He's
So
on speaker right
he's
now?
on speaker. He's about to talk,
Okay.
but he's saying, "Hey Jeff, what do you think about this?" Which leads me to believe that he's some sort of handler in a handler capacity for the family. I'm not sure. I don't know what this guy's role is, but he's clearly close enough to the Metcalf family to have his dad on speed dial and pull him up when he needs to. So when he says Jeff, he's talking about Austin's dad, who talks here in a second.
Your message, and here's the response.
You're not giving my
this
message.
Guy
You're
said,
giving your message.
What he said
What's your
was
issue
this.
with the event?
What he said was
Jeff
this.
talk now. Let
He
Jeff
said
talk.
that you, as a father, should be on the bus with him, delivering the message that he's delivering. Unfortunately, he's not a father, and the gentleman with is not a father. Maybe they don't understand what loss is. But at the end of the day, I've given your message.
I do understand what loss is. I lost family members.
Completely fraudulent attack, by the way. Oh, you
Yeah.
can't talk about black crime unless you're a father. Well, okay, I'm a father. I have a daughter. Am I allowed to swap with Jake Lang and have those opinions out? That's a fraudulent attack, by the way. I really hated that. I hate when people say you can't say X unless you're Y.
It's
It's like
just dishonest to shut down any conversation and not have to answer uncomfortable questions.
exactly. It's using fatherhood as a shield. I'm not a fan of it. And I want to kind of preface this. I'm not attacking the dad. The thing is that I really can't imagine what the boat that Jeff Metcalf is in. Let me just say this. I can't imagine what it's like to be him. I would like to think that I would at least stay silent. I wouldn't actively um, denounce the people who are standing up for my son. But at the same time, I genuinely can't say. And who's to say where any of us would be if our son was murdered in cold blood? I don't know. I'm not attacking the father. I do think his response is odd. I'll say it's odd.
Well, it's kind of odd how he did the normal scripted fake Christian DOJ written response on Fox right away, and
Very
then he shows
quickly.
up.
very
Yep, and
quickly.
then he showed up at the press conference and got kicked out, which I saw a lot of people theorizing, oh,
He's based.
maybe he's based, maybe he's doing the madman thing. And then this today is kind of a turn back in the other direction.
This put it all back in the box because if anybody thought he was based or was going to become a
The
right-wing icon,
vigilante.
a vigilante, there is none of that. So, okay, exactly.
Yeah, just let me have 1 minute of my message
Call
to Jeff
him.
Metcalf.
Call him.
Okay, this is bullshit, bro.
He's on the phone right now.
So, Jeff,
This is
let
bullshit.
Jeff talk, huh?
Jeff, talk.
This is not a good faith discussion.
Okay,
You're not going to talk to
Here's
him,
Jeff.
bro.
Hold on. So, Jeff, go
See
ahead.
this? Sorry, I got something to say about
Go
that.
ahead.
Go for
This
it.
is like one of those things where it seems like the whole thing's just a show and a spectacle
Yeah.
on both sides. With the dude in the cowboy hat and the dude in the suit. Sorry, I forgot the names, but it
Bruce
seems
and
like
Jake.
Bruce and Jake. It's one of those things where Bruce could say, "Let's talk about this in private," but they're both, or Bruce saying, "This is not a conversation we're gonna have right here in front of cameras." This whole thing seems almost pro wrestling spectacle.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that vibe too. And another dishonest tactic that Bruce used is, well, why didn't you call him on the phone? Why would Jake Lang have the guy's number? Like clearly you have Jeff's number because you're involved with the family.
And I
Like,
don't think I don't think Austin, or what's his dad's name, Jeff. I don't
dad's
think
name is Jeff, yeah.
I don't think Jeff's in the position to be taking random calls right now.
Yeah, exactly. Like as if he's just answering random numbers and Bruce is using that as like a win. Like, well, you can't call him. It's like, yeah, dude, a lot of
The
people
subtle
can't
flex.
call him. Yeah, subtle flex. I'm in with the family. So this Bruce guy is using his position to try to bully Jake. And like I said, I'm not sure about Jake. I don't really know much about his background, but I do agree with the general sentiment of what he's talking about. And we'll get his rant right now. This is what he had to say.
Go ahead, Jake.
Hey Jeff, it's Jake Lang here. Jeff, first of all, my entire heart rests in your hands. I would be in my position, not even as somebody that knew your son, but somebody that shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son. There is an epidemic problem in this country, and your voice could be one of the loudest voices in this country, but you've chosen to recoil out of fear and continue the suppression. Why will you not stand with me and with the rest of the people? We're not calling for racial divide. We're not calling for hatred. We're saying 350,000 attacks on white people by black people a year in this country is wrong. Why can't you stand that and say with that? Maybe you can. Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest a beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was.
This is pro wrestling.
Here we go.
Yes.
All right, so he gives his own, Jake gives his own his spiel, his soliloquy, and what do you think the response is from Jeff Metcalf, SW?
Not happy because and here's the thing, like I get it's not like he's saying anything that isn't factual. There's just a weird vibe.
There is a weird vibe.
There's a weird
I completely know what you
self-serving
mean.
vibe to say, why don't you stand with me?
Yes.
And when he said that, I was kind of like, well,
And
the
that's
other thing is, it's just like there's two things. The crime thing, 100% legit. Obviously, I agree with
that's just
all that.
factually correct.
But you could more just zone in on the facts of what happened and not derail this, where it almost seems to me like Jake's a bad actor.
Yeah, that was my critique
And
even
that's not to
during the
let Bruce off the
organization.
hook for his
No,
own
not at all.
grandstanding.
Not
But
at all.
There's
That was
something sleazy about Jake that I don't know. It just feels there's something off and sleazy about that.
yeah, I mean, look at his background. Look at his ethnicity. That's what I'll say in this YouTube video. His
Yep.
ethnicity is what you would expect it to be. And when I met him in person, I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy, but you do get this self-serving, oh, this is about me. I was a scared white man myself. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, fellow whites. Like,
And it
I
again,
get
we
that vibe very quickly when
like we
I
said
was
at the
there.
top of the show, all you have to do is dumb this down to the absolute bare minimum facts. Like it doesn't need. I mean, there is the whole wider angle, but everything it just feels like it's derailing the actual facts.
Yeah. And I'm totally for a larger conversation about black crime. Um, but the I can't describe it. I've been around enough rallies to know when something stinks and
Yep.
something's a little off here about the way that Jake is presenting it, and Austin's dad reacts in the way that you would expect him to. So
Yep.
let's go back 5 seconds, and Jeff says, "Are you done?" Check this
Voices,
out.
if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk.
Of my son. Let me finish. I gave you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you.
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs
Black
with your
man here,
weakness.
you are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn.
That's not me saying that in the background, by the way. That's a
Okay,
different.
I was gonna ask.
That's a no. That is not me saying that. That's a different black person named Philip Anderson. I did not say that. I'm just filming. So yeah,
But
that's not me.
this whole thing just stinks and is just it makes every single person involved looks worse.
Yeah,
Nobody helped their image at all in this whole thing.
no.
And like it's weird because like, and this isn't I guess it is. All Austin's dad should have said was, "Shut the fuck or shut up, stop talking. I don't want to be associated with you." That's that. When he talked about inflaming the rate, that's where it
Yeah,
feels like I feel like he feels like he has the target on his back, where he has to go completely that way with it. Where I feel like just because if he doesn't, I feel like it's almost like he has to. He feels he has to do that because if he doesn't, then it will seem like they're on the same side. But I can totally see why he wants to distance himself and have this Jake guy completely as far away removed from the situation as possible.
yeah. I mean, that's the issue for me too. Is like he's almost overplaying his hand. Like I actually know what he means by saying I don't want anything to do with you. But when you take it a step further and say you're not bridging the racial divide, what does that actually mean? What does
And
that
it's like,
actually mean right now? Bridge the
and that
racial
just seems
divide.
scripted where I don't know if he believes it, but that just seems so scripted. And again, it's like I said earlier, nobody's telling Carmelo's parents to shut up,
Right,
stop talking, and just let the trial play out and keep quiet.
right.
They're
No, but
letting them kind of go up there and
and
inflame
talk
things
about
even
well,
worse.
well, you look at what Carmelo's family's talking about in the press conferences. They're bringing up the name of Ethan Liming and stuff, and they're talking about previous injustices in their press conferences, and they're talking about how this is a pattern that how black men are treated. If anything, they're the ones stoking the racial divide out of the people, out of the
Exactly.
main characters of this, but nobody's telling them to stop. It's always the father of the white kid that's told, "Hey man, you better not talk about this too
We
much."
gotta chill. We
And
gotta chill.
this is not about Austin Metcalf's dad. This is about a larger picture because I kind of know what Metcalf's dad is saying here. Like, I don't want anything to do with whatever the hell's going on with Jake Lang.
And
What I'm
yeah,
talking about
and
is a larger picture where this is always the response.
exactly. And I feel like, if he said the canned response and the Anthony family was quiet, not saying anything, and just kind of, handling it like a normal family would handle their son being charged with murder
Exactly.
instead of the grandstanding and we're the
And
victims.
I would apply that to Austin Metcalf's family also. I would have more respect for it, and I think a lot of people on the right would,
If he just said nothing.
if he said literally nothing, if he said, "We are mourning the loss of my son, leave us alone," that would be like,
Exactly.
okay, hey, nothing gained or lost. But it's this going out of your way. It's not even the forgiveness thing, because that's what a lot of Christians who I know, that's their issue with the right, with the further dissident right, is that they think that we're anti-forgiveness. I'm not anti-forgiveness. I'm not even saying that he shouldn't forgive Carmelo. What I'm saying is that he's overdoing it. We need to bridge the racial divide. You went from being a good Christian to now you sound like Al Sharpton. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and again, I keep going back to somebody like tell the Anthony family this.
Right.
Tell them what are they doing to calm the situation down. They're
Exactly.
doing everything to inflame the situation and make it so much worse. Like I'm just thinking of I don't want to say any white family, but for the most part, and I've said this before, one of the big differences between the black community and the white community is, oh, I shouldn't say white community because let's be real, there really isn't one, as sad as that is to say, but
Not
for the
meaningfully.
most part, exactly, but for the most part, it's like if a white person's cousin's a real scumbag, they're kind of like ostracized from the family. They don't glorify them, and if they inevitably get killed doing something stupid or die, it's kind of like, or OD on something, it's kind of just like, yeah, Mikey was a real dirtbag. It's sad, but his parents failed him, and it's a sad situation, but that's it. But you know, I think one of the biggest problems that you see out of the black community is this insistence on defending the worst elements of the community. And I know a lot of black people actually agree with me on that.
Yeah, there were actually like the black guy who was speaking in the background. There was maybe one other black guy on the pro Austin Metcalf side. This is one of the issues I had with Bruce, and I talked about this with him in person. I said it to his face. I said the issue is that you are fundamentally running cover for black crime when you're sitting here saying, well, we just need to let the rule of law play out. I agree, dude. Nobody's saying we need to go lynch Carmelo. Nobody reasonable is saying that. What I'm saying is that when you're here running cover for Carmelo saying, well, you shouldn't even be protesting against black on white crime. What you're doing is you're giving an out to all the black crime when it happens. They can say, well, it may be a problem, but why are you protesting against it? That's weird. It's
And they don't even like when it's brought up.
yeah. There's always cover ran for it. And then I'm sure if I went on a conversation long enough with this Bruce guy, I'm almost sure this didn't happen this time, but I'm almost sure that eventually in a long enough timeline where we're talking about black crime, eventually what he would say is, well, why do you think it is that black men don't have a father in the home? Slavery? That's where you always get. That's
It just keeps going back and
unless you're
back and
talking
back.
to like a truly based black person, it's always going to go back to, well, slavery. Well, they put crack in the black community. It's every time, man.
Well, and that's the thing I've noticed with a lot of older black people or black people I know who are financially successful in like real estate ventures and other entrepreneurship that I kind of run across in my business, that they get it. They know that what the issue is. You can only talk about it so far before all of a sudden the defense mechanism kicks in. And
Yes.
it's like, and especially me as a white dude, it's like we can agree. We're talking for 5 minutes. The second I go just an inch too far, just that little bit too far, all of a
Like,
sudden the
whoa,
defense goes.
whoa. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I know what
And
you
it's
mean.
like, and that I think is ultimately one of the biggest problems is the lack of
It's like a lack of
community
ability.
accountability.
Yeah, and that's what I told Bruce also is that you're running cover fundamentally, even if you don't realize you're doing it, even if it's not conscious, people will use your talking points to run cover for
And
black
the other
crime.
thing is that I've noticed is there is that delusion where if you do push this, black people will go. Well, it's the mythical frat boy who's committed 100 felonies, but his dad golfs with the judge, and they'll just kind of defer to stuff like that. But the reality is, white people, and I know I'm going to say this, but I already know what the liberal snark would be. But like white people, and I would say even Hispanics to an extent, especially, and Asians 100%, crime isn't glorified. The
Right.
criminal isn't glorified. Even if it's your family member, the line is drawn, and there's a willingness to say, yeah, that person's a dirtbag, and we don't want anything to do with them.
Exactly. But that doesn't exist in the black community. There's so
And it's
it's
gotten ramped up. This is the post 2020 thing I was saying, where and this is basically the fundamental thing we're seeing with this issue in the latest developments, that there's no willingness to admit wrongdoing. It's just pure tribalism.
exactly. Yeah, and it's I mean it's we're all tribal to an extent. I understand that, but it's
It
really
goes
tribalism.
way too far.
Yeah, it's tribalism to the point of like even self-detriment. Like they will live in a crime-ridden community if that means they don't have to take accountability.
Exactly. And it's that's one of the more blackpilling things where I don't know how you correct that.
I don't either. I mean,
I don't think there's really like the quick answer on that, because
I
that
think
requires a
the
lot
only
of accountability that just doesn't magically happen.
the only solution I can honestly think of, and this is kind of outside the scope of this convo, the only real solution I can think of is freedom of association. You have to allow people to be able to not serve and um, not do business with people that are undesirable. And you have to let them live with their own consequences. And then maybe you'll get some form of like, oh, damn, us living in this apartment complex is no longer mandated by law. They're not letting us live here because we're less than desirable and we need to improve. Like that's the only way I see out of it. You really would need to undo the Civil Rights Act of 64, freedom of association, and a lot of the principles that surrounded that. So I really see that as the only way forward for that.
I
Um,
can see that.
but yeah, we can
Should we
move
move
on.
on to the more lighthearted stuff now?
Yeah, let's move on. I feel like that was a good Carmelo update.
Yeah, I mean, also I felt like we were kind of obligated for how much we spent 2 episodes, or we spent probably like an hour talking about it. That we got, for better or worse, we're kind of married to it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna keep doing updates as it goes on. But yeah, everybody knows his bond got dropped from 1 million to 250. He's out. He's on house arrest. He has the ankle monitor. Um, Not much to say there. The usual suspects let him out. We know what that is. Um, really briefly, there's not even much content here, but just to give people some
Right and wrong, we're standing for what is right.
oops,
Right and wrong, we're standing for what is right.
give people a little context for how small the rally was.
I was gonna say I looked at those videos and was like,
Yeah, dude. I mean, this was at
that's just a
12:15.
handful of people.
It's yeah. Um, Apparently it was a little bit bigger around 11, but we got here at around 12:15.
Right and wrong, we're standing for what is right. If the roles were reversed,
This guy had on a Carmelo Anthony, the basketball player jersey,
I was wondering.
and people were this guy was getting a lot of crap. People were saying like, take that effing jersey off. That's disrespectful. I actually agree with that. That's incredibly disrespectful. Um,
I wonder if Carmelo with a C has heard about this situation.
he has to have. I was joking about this with Patriot J. Um, I was saying that Carmelo Anthony has to keep some track of like his Google hits and searches and stuff. I could imagine that the morning this really popped off, he woke up really excited that people were searching his name and that like this is what's going on. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
there was a black kid who got stabbed, and people were making right.
So yeah, I mean, it was a dud by all accounts, but All right. Let me stop share and then we'll jump back in. So yeah,
So
I think for part 2 of the episode, I'm gonna kind of pass it off to you a little bit. Yeah, let's go into some gender stuff. So do you want to get into
I
the
figure we'll start with what happened with the Braves broadcast.
cool.
It's funny because we had talked about this was kind of going to be more of what we would talk about when we started recording, and sure enough, we end up having a big major news story
Yeah, man.
and kind of derailed from this. So like we can watch the clip, but basically the context is young, handsome reporter for the Braves. They're away in Toronto, and I guess the play-by-play guys were kind of egging him on, be like, "Hey, those girls are cute. Get their number." And sure enough, he asked for one of their numbers, and she was about it and gave it to him.
All right, let's just watch the video. Because I know people watching this are like, why are they talking about this random Braves reporter? It ties in.
We'll get to what we're gonna say, but
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
bigger issue
It's
that
a bigger thing. It's a bigger thing. So bear with us, but this is perfect. All right, let's just watch this.
We're having a lot of fun up here up the Corona rooftop. Who do we got here? What's your name?
My name's Lauren.
Lawrence, all right.
And I'm Kayla.
Kayla, and you guys hang out at the rooftop lounge often?
Once a year I come out to visit.
Okay, well, we timed it pretty well. All right, good. How are you guys feeling about rooting for the Braves today?
Oof, I don't know. I'm hoping for the best.
What about you? Are you a Braves fan now?
Not quite.
Not quite. All right, I'm gonna go to work up here, guys. Good luck the rest of the way.
Okay, Wiley. You got 4 innings to get the numbers.
I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm on it.
Get us some more Braves fans.
All right, so they want me to get your number.
They want you to get my
I'm dead serious. They're saying in my ear right now. She didn't believe me because she thinks you guys are not. I'm making this up. Even if you guys weren't, I might use that in the future. That's actually a pretty good move.
This is unbelievable.
So the best part of this right now is that Wiley could totally be faking it. This might be the new move. Just walk around with a FanDuel microphone and an earpiece in and convince fans that they're actually on TV.
I should have thought of this years ago.
Oh,
See,
she's putting it in. She's putting it in.
her number in his phone.
I got the number. We're good.
Dude, okay.
See, this
I
is
love this clip.
and this is awesome. See,
That's
normal
great.
people see this and go, "Great,
Dude,
what
that
a
is
great story."
that's grade A game. He's a reporter. She wants proximity to power. She like in her mind he's like a big deal, even though like
Even on a smaller level,
small go for
no
it.
homo. He's a good-looking
He's
dude.
a good-looking
She's
guy.
cute.
They're attractive.
So what of it? This is just normal. But unfortunately, we live in a longhouse, and the reactions to this were completely insane. And
But
the
let's
other
go.
thing, a rant for another day, is how sports front offices have been taken over by women, and
Oh, totally.
it's
A lot
just
of
sports has been longhoused.
people don't realize the extent to which sports is completely dominated. Like the front offices are dominated by HR now. So like you get a lot of these cases and you're starting to see more and more of them of like a high-powered GM or even in some cases an owner of teams just getting completely longhoused and being told that his advances towards single women constitute like sexual assault.
But
And
it's
they,
even hiring practices where,
Mm,
it's the optics. They don't want to be known as the boys' club, so they hire the women out of law school to work in the front office, and then you end up with a very feminized culture. And obviously, FanDuel Sports, even though a sports network, that's
mhm.
television and marketing, so of course. Like even scroll down, look at that tweet like right below it.
Oh yeah, from Jacob Munch. I actually have that tweet. Here we go. The segment from the Braves broadcast with their sideline reporter tonight was not right. This is a guy, by the way, could have fooled me. It was unprofessional and strikes me as gross and misogynistic. I do not like how any of the members of the broadcast team handled it. It should be unacceptable. Bro, she's
So
not going
men
to
aren't
get with you.
allowed to so men aren't allowed to ever pursue women, ever talk to women, ever do anything.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I think we talked about this before. Maybe I'm out of the game. I've been married for a year and a half. My now wife and I were dating for maybe a year and a half before I proposed. Um, Maybe I'm just like an old guy and don't know how it works, but from what it seems to me is there is never an appropriate time for a guy to ever be attracted to a woman. She could be giving him these eyes. She could be giving this body language.
See the thing is, it's all people on the sidelines though. It's the optics and how everything's centered around it. But I truly think all the people who are mad about this, they're mad he got the number. If he
Yes.
would have gotten rejected on TV and she would have had an attitude with it and he would have got the humiliation, they would have enjoyed it. They would
And
be loving it.
and you know what? Kudos to this girl. I mean, look at the body language. She's complete and
Yeah, she was about it.
less so her. Not even this
Well,
girl.
that's
This
because she's
girl's
not,
whatever.
she kind of feels slighted.
Exactly. But this one has her body language completely towards him. She has the head tilt, the eyes on him. He's holding frame. This is great stuff. Like kudos to this guy. This guy's
And this
Chad.
isn't, this is a Toronto AWFL. So if, or I shouldn't say, maybe the L part's not in there. Maybe
Yeah,
she's just a Toronto AWF.
AWF. Yeah, affluent white female. I mean, she's at a baseball game. That leans conservative, honestly. Um, yeah, I mean, kudos to this guy. But the issue to me, bigger picture, is that, like I said, there's never an appropriate time for a guy to be attracted to a woman. So
Well, and it's
whether,
just, it's more, I would even say it's more so that male heterosexuality, especially from white men, is completely criminalized in any public eye.
Mhm.
Like, no one cares if this happens. I mean, it's less of an issue if it's not on camera. It's almost like straight white guys, we're supposed to be in the closet
Yeah, you're supposed
to
to, yeah,
we're supposed to be meek,
with your
quiet,
shoulders
everything.
slumped, low voice. Don't be tall, don't be jacked. Don't ask her for the number. If she's alone, that's a crime to ask her for the number because that's threatening. If she's with a friend and you ask for the number, that's a crime because she's just trying to enjoy a night out and she doesn't want the male gaze. If she is lower than you on the socioeconomic totem pole, that's a crime because you have power over her. If she's higher than you on the socioeconomic totem pole, that's a crime because she's focused on her career and you're lower than her. There's never a right time for a guy to ever be attracted to a woman, ever.
And then it gets worse because for as much shit as I talk about Tariq Nasheed, Buck Broken is my favorite. Like, it's such an apt term, but like what Jacob Munch is his name, what
Jacob
he's
Munch.
saying shows a buck brokenness from
Yes.
guys where, and this goes back to the story I told about the fantasy baseball draft 2 weeks ago about how somebody says the no word and and a lot of the guys in the room nervously don't know how to react because there's truly a buck brokenness where I don't know if he truly believes it, but I feel like it's almost like they're whipped and conditioned where this has to be the immediate reaction to
It
show that,
doesn't
hey, I'm outraged. I'm outraged, women. I'm a good guy.
it doesn't even matter if he believes it or not. It's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He functionally believes it. He believes it. That's the simple way. And at the end of the day, this is a mating tactic for him. He thinks, I think in whether conscious, it's kind of like we were talking about with Tim Pool taking Carmelo's side because he's afraid to get beat up. Whether
Yeah.
Jacob whether Jacob Munch consciously realizes this or not, using this as a mating strategy. He thinks in the back of his mind that if he runs cover for the women, then this girl, he thinks that if he types this out, then this girl will go in his DMs and say, "Sweetie, the way you stood up for me among
Well,
all those
even
sexists."
if he's married, he's doing it to prove something to his wife.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the
exactly.
thing.
It's actually even
It's even
worse.
worse, and that's why I keep saying it's buck broken.
Right, right.
And then they take another angle with this, which is really funny because then I think the other tweets I sent you,
Yeah, I have all those pulled up.
the one from the chick.
Chelsea, this one?
Well, there's someone else says the exact same thing. Imagine if a female reporter, or wait, oh, the Danny and the Chelsea one are like the same thing. But
So,
all right.
are we going to ask women in sports if they're only doing their job to date athletes? We can all agree how inappropriate and nasty this is, not to mention the double standard, right? What double standard?
There is no double standard. If that was a cute reporter, a cute female reporter, who asked out a handsome guy in the stands that they were interviewing, it would be a story on ESPN and every sports network. They would probably get a reality TV crew to follow them on their first date, and it would be the cute. It would basically be a real life rom com because it's okay if a chick does that. And
Yeah,
again, like, and I don't. That doesn't necessarily. The double standard bothers me, but I don't get like I don't care, and I wouldn't be bothered if a chick did that.
no.
I mean, what I'm bothered by is the double standard that they straw man that there would be like we live in 1978 and people would be outraged by
Right,
a
by
girl
this
asking a guy out
untoward,
on
by
TV.
this feminist behavior. How dare a woman ask a guy out? If anything, she would get love from most professional women and say, "You go,
You
girl.
go, girl.
You're a boss bitch. You ask that man for his number. You take that number." She would be beloved. She
What
would
a
probably
sweet
have.
story.
She would blow up on social media. She might get an interview from
Hey, she'd go
the
from Atlanta as Fox Sports to probably get an ESPN job.
she'd get a favorable interview on the Call Me Daddy podcast, frankly.
Yeah, that's another thing. But it's just when it's a guy, there's this criminalization of how dare we show this. Almost like it's really it's really bizarre because it's basically just criminalizing male heterosexuality.
Exactly.
I also do wonder if the reporter was black and he asked a girl out. I
Mm,
feel like it would be 50-50 where I feel like if it was that girl,
no.
female black Twitter would be the ones losing their minds.
That's what I was going to say is that it wouldn't be 50-50, it would be 25-75. So 75% of people would say, "Oh, what an adorable couple. She gave him the number." The
And then you'd see,
25%
look
anti
at
would
this.
be black women. It would be black
Exactly.
women against it because black women are deeply threatened by that woman because they know she's attractive and that is what it is. But black women are deeply terrified by this woman, frankly. They can say they're not, but like that is most of their anger. When black women are talking about being against Eurocentric beauty standards,
It's white women.
they're
It's
talking
that.
they're
It's
talking
her. It's
about
those two
non-white
women.
women. Exactly. They're talking about these two women, and they're
But it
talking
goes
about these two people getting married and having kids.
exactly. But the whole Longhouse thing goes beyond just this clip.
Hmm.
It goes really towards anything related to guys. And I've noticed this buck brokenness with obviously with the story of somebody saying fag in the fantasy baseball group chat and just being around a lot of other married millennial guys.
Hmm.
There really is truly a buck brokenness that
Absolutely.
they you're not a, where the I'm trying to figure out the words to say this. It's like you have they always have to put on an act and be basically this Jacob Munch type.
Hmm.
And they have to just it's like it feels performative, but you're not allowed to just riff with your boys about Sabrina Carpenter or Sydney Sweeney. You know, you
Exactly.
can't. And this is why I actually really enjoy hanging out with boomers because they have no chill.
Right.
Like, and I've always respected how like boomers are authentic and genuine. Now at a certain age, they don't care about optics around the wife. But
Hmm.
like some of these boomers I golf with, they let it fly. There's no
Yeah.
fake pretension. There's no. They'll talk about Sabrina Carpenter. They'll talk about Sydney Sweeney. But like
Yeah.
a millennial
I mean,
Jacob Munch type
that's what a
is
lot of the
terrified.
that's what a lot of the thing surrounding Wife Jack was. not to bring it back to a whole other topic,
Oh,
but
I remember Wife Jack vividly because literally the day before that came up, people like actually I had mutuals joking that I summoned it into existence because I was going on this exact
I
rant.
do remember that you were going on a rant
I was
before
going
Wife
on this
Chat happened.
exact rant, and the problem was, and this is even within right-wing Twitter. Basically, I was saying what I'm saying now, that there's a lot of performativeness amongst millennial guys where they want to act like the good upstanding husband. They can't just have a normal conversation. And so many dorks took it as, oh, you want me to say my wife sucks? You want me to air all my grief? And I was like, I'm not saying anything about your wife. I'm saying talk about, like, it's okay to talk about Sabrina Carpenter doing the Juno poses, or Sydney Sweeney's latest IAG post, or the Tate McRae videos amongst your boys. Have some fun.
Yeah.
Or I think the story I used was, I can't remember where it was, some gathering, but one of my buddies got there and he was like, "Oh, we were carpet shopping all day," and instead of just being like, do the eye roll and being like, "I hate," like it was dumb. He was like, "Oh, we got a really great deal. We went with maroon," and everyone in the room's just like mentally putting their fingers on the bridge of their nose. Like,
Yeah.
really, dude? Like, and it's like, it's
Yeah.
dishonest. If
It's
he would
like
have said, if you walked in and like, ugh, wasted 7 hours or 6 hours at carpet stores
she
today, it
can
was
never pick what
brutal.
she wants. I knew what we wanted when we walked in the door, but it took her
And
3 hours to pick what she wanted when she already walked in.
this is why I respect boomers on a social level so much more, is because they would just be honest about it.
Exactly. Yeah, it's I just thought of this term, but it's like performative husbandry.
Yes.
You want to be you're almost fulfilling the role that you saw in like sitcoms. Like
Yes.
like King of Queens, if you've ever watched that
Oh
show.
yeah.
Or like I actually like that show. It's funny. Or like Roseanne acting like Dopey Dan. I don't know what's going on. It's like they want to be like the dopey husband almost because they were
The
told.
dopey husband in the cuck commercial.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like the I didn't pick up what I needed from the grocery store today. Oh, I'm a dummy. It's
I
like,
think I've always had a theory that it stems from boomers basically telling millennials nonstop, "You're immature, you're immature, you're immature." And I can see how, like a millennial who has their stuff together, is married, a house. I can see why they would get irked that boomers kind of straw man that they're no different than the pot smoking hippie
right.
with roommates at 33. So I think it becomes almost performative to say, "Hey, boomers, see, I'm not that lazy pot smoking bum you straw man me as."
Yeah,
And that's kind of where, but it's ironic because, like I said, I hang out with boomers and they're authentic. They don't care, where it really becomes like an overcompensation to prove to somebody something that doesn't really matter and shouldn't matter.
exactly. One thing I really try to push back against, even like with people in my personal life, is the idea that the wife makes the man whole. And that sounds like, why are you pushing back against that? Man is only complete when he's married. It's very subtle, but when you listen to it among married guys, you'll now that I've said this, you'll notice it. What's really pushed on guys, I'd probably say younger than 35, is the idea that when they get married was the moment they grew up. The idea that when they got married, that was the moment they all changed. And I was a stupid, dopey, slow guy until I got married, and then I met I met Mary, and then
They
everything
don't
changed.
understand that the boomers are full of it when they talk about that, and that
Exactly.
it's the boomers. And one thing about boomers, and everyone knows this, everything they say you have to take half seriously. Any moralizing thing they go on, you just gotta assume they're full of it to an extent, and there's some good in it, but
There's some
it's
gems there, but yeah,
there's some gems, but then there's some grandstanding where I think they don't realize that a lot of boomers who say that are just being dishonest,
Yeah.
and it wasn't actually like that. And they, it's I don't know, it gets really frustrating because it's like trying to be a caricature of what they think the boomers were, but the boomers were nothing like that.
Exactly. They talk about being like that now, but come on. In 1965, if your wife was being mouthy, it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or it was
It
just
wasn't like,
more,
oh, honey.
or it's just kind of like this idea where like, oh, I can't go golfing. I got to go carpet shopping. It's like boomers still went golfing. It's like that's one thing I've noticed with millennials is, and I think it's gotten worse to an extent where the LARP kind of they almost buy into the LARP too much, and I noticed that there's not a lot of they have millennial married couples have less of a social life by and large
Mhm.
than Gen X or Boomers, where they're more homebodies, even without kids, they're much more homebodies. And so, like with a buddy of mine, a great example, me and another buddy were talking, and this other buddy I'm talking about, he's a father of two, he's married, so it's not like it's two single guys ranting about their married friend. This guy, father of two, said our other buddy, he goes, he doesn't have a social life, and his entire social life is controlled by his wife and only sees his wife's friends. Because of that, he's basically turned into a version of his wife, and we joke that they're essentially a lesbian couple.
Yeah, you see that a lot. That's a very real thing.
Like, for
Yeah.
example, funny enough, I'm going to his birthday party after this episode, and on the Facebook event thing, you look, the entire thing is like me, the other buddy I mentioned, and like two other people, and then like 15 of his wife's friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's somebody who's completely abandoned their own social
Well,
circle.
and
Yeah.
it gets better. He he used the word toxic masculinity in a non-ironic way
Ugh.
a while back, and it like was a record scratch, or for at least for me and our other close buddy, because afterwards we were like, did he actually say that?
Yeah, the friends that I went with to the rally, to the Metcalf rally today were actually high school friends of mine. They're completely apolitical. They tag along with me to like rallies if I'm going to something in the area. And we're all on the same page about exactly what we've been talking about. And we covered this topic today while we were hanging out before the rally. We were saying that like it's exactly phrases like toxic masculinity or even a word like problematic. Like nobody has ever said the word problematic in a genuine way. It's anytime somebody says that word problematic, you already know what they're about. No, even
And
we
I would guarantee any guy who says that, who is married to a woman, does not have an active relationship with male friends
exactly.
where he does stuff like golf, goes out for drinks, or and I think that becomes a big problem of why a lot of millennial guys are longhouse. And
Mhm.
the retort is always, "Well, I love my wife." Like, of course you love your wife. Nobody's disputing that. But boomers, and I just remember this from my dad. I knew so many of his friends, and it was and this I of course I played catch a lot with my dad. We did all the normal father son stuff, but there were a number of Saturdays where he was golfing with his buddies. There were some there were some Sundays he's going to a Packer game with his friends, or
Exactly.
there's it's one of those things where I kind of, as an adult now, really respect that boomers, and I guess I know the retort's going to be, well, the divorce rate, blah blah blah, but it seemed like, and even with my mom had a social life with her own circle of friends.
Right.
That I just feel like there isn't that independent
Yeah,
social life that keeps you sane.
there's a weird codependency now. That's not
Yes,
healthy.
yes, that's
It's
it,
not healthy at all.
and I think ultimately when that situ when if a couple falls into that situation, the wife inherently becomes the dominant power structure of the
I mean,
couple.
she becomes mommy. That's what happens. She becomes mommy, and she ends up making the plans. She ends up being the decider of whether or not they do things, instead of the husband saying, "Hey, just a heads up, this is what we're doing," or just a heads up, this is what my plan is for the day. It becomes, honey, do you mind if I do X? It's like, it's subtle, but it is a difference and it matters.
It is funny to quote Coastal Country Club again. He's one of my favorite accounts.
Yeah, I like his account.
But he said something where a while back he was talking about, I believe it was a buddy who he surfs with, and he said something like, "Oh, I said to this dude, I was like, oh, do you want to go surfing this weekend?" The guy's like, "Oh, let me ask my wife," and he jokingly like said in the tweet, "Well, I didn't ask if she's coming." And
Exactly.
it's one of those things where it's one of those things where it becomes it's not like let me check my schedule. It really becomes let me ask my wife, and it's almost like a begging.
Exactly.
Like, can I like again, you never see the wife being like, "Hey, me and the girls want to go grab drinks Saturday
Do you
night." It's
mind
we're
if I,
doing that.
yeah.
Or if anything, like they'll say, "Do you mind?" But it's not like a
Well, if the husband pushes back, he's an
he's abusive.
abusive controlling husband, and you need to divorce him because those are red flags, and you need to
Yep.
take 50% of his assets because of that.
But if it's, "Hey, honey, I was gonna go trap shooting at 11 on Sunday," and it's, ooh, that doesn't really work.
Right. Right. Yeah, I
So
mean, it needs to be more of a declarative statement, whether rather than an interrogative an
well,
interrogative statement.
and the thing that I think this also ties into is a conversation we've had so many times that, and this also ties into with what we were saying about like basically just guys constantly being browbeaten, is that men basically are browbeaten into being this subservient person with no life. Like, I mean, think about like if you play video games, you're a loser. Like, it's nobody ever criticizes female hobbies. And I
Right.
think it's just a constant battering where like it's just guys just kind of end up being this pithy white guy like that Harrison dude from InfoWars.
Yeah, yeah, and I like Harrison as a person, but the wife jack thing really it really
Well, that was part of
illuminated.
Wife Jack Volume 2 discourse when, oh God, I remember, yeah, and it's just like, that's the thing. It's like it's great. Nobody's saying don't love your wife. That's where I
Exactly.
think that's the cheap, like, that's the really cheap defense that gets used. But the reality is, it's just, it's a collective buck brokenness, to go back to that
Exactly.
term.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the things that Tariq Nasheed is one of the only things that Tariq Nasheed has truly contributed to the public discourse is the universality of the term buck brokenness, honestly.
And I think we've talked about this before, how and it's with no, this goes back to the the infamous week-long job discourse right before the inauguration, where nobody would tell a woman to take a job at Panda Express. Nobody
Yeah,
tells a woman her hobbies are stupid.
that
Nobody
was
tells a
very
no.
telling. That whole Panda Express thing was very telling.
Well, that was like a really weird that was the best point I think made of the whole discourse, but I think that went off the rails and developed and metastasized into so many different things that I was getting annoyed with people, but I was also agreeing with the
Yeah,
people I was getting annoyed, and it just. But regardless, it was one of those things where it goes back onto, you always see it where you men finger wag and you men need to drop the video games, or where you see like the trad wife accounts where like a husband's only hobby should be, and then she lists like all sorts of weird housework that only serves her.
hmm
And
but
it just becomes this idea that men are slaves.
yeah, exactly. And I mean I mean that's where they want men is like kind of just an inoffensive puppy that's at the house that does tricks on command and jumps when she says jump, he says how high and he dances for a treat. That's really what a lot of these, even these trad wife accounts, they want a husband that will perform on command, basically.
And when
Like Trent
somebody's
Horn.
against that, and if somebody's against that, you're an incel, or like they
Exactly.
eye slur you. You get
Yeah,
the
I
eye
mean,
slur if you even push back and be like, you know, why can't your husband go play golf if you have no plans on a Saturday? Or
look, I don't blame Nick Fuentes for how he talks about not wanting a wife in this climate. Obviously
his
I'm
wedding
married.
rant was great.
Oh, dude, all of his rants on women are great, man. As a like, it's like people as a fellow white person, as a not as a white person, as a married person, like I'm happy in my marriage, and it's not the dynamic that we're discussing here, or else
And
I
that's the
wouldn't be
thing.
doing
Like
this. But
you,
yeah,
you and other friends of mine, don't have that. It's always like and so that's the other thing that gets conflated. It's like they assume you're talking about all couples, where if somebody gets offended by it, it's almost like it hits too close to home with them.
well, yeah, that's what a lot of the anti-wife jack stuff came from was that, well, you're just anti-wife jack because you're an incel. It's like you were just saying. Exactly. Yeah. Um,
It's just it's the never-ending discourse of, and again, men aren't allowed to, and that's the other thing, men aren't allowed to criticize women. We're not allowed to compliment, talk about complimentary. Like the video I sent you on Instagram, we don't necessarily have to watch that, but
we could probably do it next time. I think we're running a
yeah,
little
I mean,
little.
well, it's not really significant. It's basically these dudes with a sports channel just did a normal. They were even being respectful. That's like the crazy thing. Like, and it was like it was the call her daddy girl, one of the girls from
It's
Severance.
fine. It's fine. We can look at it really quick. We have a little
Well,
time.
no, I mean, it was more so, it wasn't even the content of
You
what they were
sure?
talking
Okay.
about. It was the comments were, "This ain't it, Chief. Come on, guys, you're better than that."
This ain't
And it
it.
was,
Why are we talking about women's looks?
and it's like literally the one of the girls they're talking about has an entire podcast talking about guys.
Right. Right. And
Nobody tells her like, hey, tone it down, Alex Cooper. You're being. We shouldn't talk about guys like that.
oh, is she the call her daddy girl, Alex
Yeah,
Cooper? Okay. I was wondering who that was at first. But yeah, it ties into what I was saying about that Braves reporter. There's no proper context today when you're allowed to talk about women. If it's two guys talking about women, that's sexualizing them or something. If it's telling a woman she's attractive, that's creepy and that's you're raping her or something. It's like, yeah, dude. And that's why Chads will inherit the earth because they don't care about that. That's why
and that
Chads will procreate.
and
And
one
people
thing
like
I should.
Jacob Munch won't.
Who knows? That's the I always am surprised with the amount of kind of cuck boys who are married with kids. But the thing is,
Yeah, it is.
and
It's
we can
sad.
talk about this, but the white pill is out in the real world. It's a little different, in that it's easy to get bogged down with the online stuff. But where the online stuff is important is it puts out there and sets up the framework.
That's
It
literally,
sets,
you stole the
and
words out
that's
of my
where it
mouth.
needs. That's why it needs to be criticized and pushed back when it happens. Because if you don't, it gets accepted as the norm.
You stole the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the reason the online stuff is important is because it creates a framework, a lens through which to view reality, basically.
Because I
Um,
mean, look at how we will end this soon, but I mean, we're kind of on a good point right here. Look at how in 2014 all the Tumblr stuff was a joke. Ha ha ha. That's stupid. Blah blah blah. Now you fast forward 10 years, that's all mainstream.
that's reality now.
It didn't get pushed back. That's actually a very good topic, maybe for our next episode, is to kind of timeline how all the Tumblr stuff was not taken seriously enough. And I remember explaining kind of the HuffPo Tumblr stuff back in 2015 to people, and they looked at me like I was wearing a tinfoil hat. And
Well,
guess what? Now
if
it's we fast forward, it's all real.
if you want to fast forward another 5 years, because all this is kind of converging to a single point, because it's happening faster and faster now. So the reality of Tumblr manifesting took about 10 years. The reality of the red pill is probably going to manifest in like 5 years. So whereas people are laughing at these, oh, silly incels watching red, and look, I'm not the biggest supporter for more for moral reasons rather than pragmatic ones of the red pill content. Um, the reality of the red pill content is going to manifest. Those guys who are following the red pill stuff and who are actually red pilled, not the guys who are cucks, but they watch Andrew Tate on the side and try to act like him. Not that. I mean, like the guys who actually become red pilled because of that and improve their lives and use a lot of like internalize a lot of the things that we're saying in this conversation. Those are the people that are going to procreate more in the future. Like, I understand right now that guys are cucks who have 4 or 5 kids. In the future, the guys who are going to procreate and get married are going to be the guys who are listening to something like this, who are listening to Nick. It's not going to be it's not even about the online creators themselves. It's going to be the people that are either A, religious, or B, really internalizing the gender pill and realizing like what's going on with the fact that women don't want, for example, women don't want to be asked permission when you touch their
Well,
leg
it's
or
like kind of
kiss
what we
them or
just
something.
said. Like, it's important to attack the online framework of this stuff because it will manifest. But at the same time, it's not worth getting too bogged down and thinking a lot of this stuff is ultimately the reality you have to deal with.
Right.
It's out there, don't get me wrong, it's out there. But it's not it's more easily able to navigate than it seems sometimes. So it's not worth getting too black. It's worth fighting back, but not getting black pilled.
Yeah, totally, totally. Don't, yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't be black pilled. Totally agree. Because a lot of this stuff can lead you to a black pill, but um, no, 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 no. Be white pilled because you found out the info and you can change it, basically. So the short of
Yep.
it is listen to SW and I because we're right.
This was a fun episode. I this more talking, less analytical kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah. We might.
and we'll do more kind of we'll cover big stories that are out there, but we're also going to have more laid back episodes like this, and then who knows, maybe we might have some submissions from our mutuals or other
Or
followers, and
interviews.
I
We're
don't
both
know,
kind of
we'll
working on
expand.
interviews, content. We're going to expand. So totally agree. This was a nice change from just looking at content. Really, the last 20 minutes was us just riffing on gender, which is perfect. We didn't even need any content to riff. So,
So I'm
um,
thinking about doing almost a mailbox thing for us, which I think would be
yeah,
fun.
yeah, yeah. Once we get the viewers and the subs up a little bit, I think we can start to do like a mailbox thing, or maybe even start to try to institute like um, a live show per week, something like that. I want to try to do something off the beaten path once a week or something like that. But yeah, I think this was a great episode. Yeah, I enjoyed it, man.
Cool.
I'll leave people with this. Follow SW on Twitter. It'll be in the bio and on the thumbnail. Snowmed34. That's where you find SW. At Jordan B Videos, obviously VIDE0S. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the show. SW, I'll be talking to you obviously throughout the week. Thanks for taking the time today, man.
No problem. I'll catch you later, man.
All right, later, man. Have a good Easter, by the way.
You too.
All right, later.